Hi everyone. This is author R. Weir, Randy. Had a little. That was the first time that's ever I went live, and it gave me an error after thinking about it for a few minutes. So took a minute. We had some internet issues at the house today. We had to hotspot for a while. They were upgrading the network. Xfinity was so. Hopefully, all those updates are done. They said they were. First thing I wanted to mention, and I'm going to throw some of these things into the comment area. But I have a book that's free right now, and it's one of my favorite books, Dead Man Code. It is absolutely free as an ebook. IT computer engineer is murdered. And of course, anyone who knows me, I worked in the IT world, gets into the Chinese and the Russians and a little bit of identity theft and a lot of real world stuff that's happening, fictionalized, but very realistic. And I really enjoyed writing that book because of my IT background, though I made my private eye a little dumb when it comes to IT stuff. So I made sure he was ignorant and had to search out some help from some IT professionals. But so far, it's made it up to number 6 on the Hard-Boiled Mysteries chart, which is always nice. And then it's number 9 currently on the Private Investigators chart. So I'm hoping we can get it up there. I've had a few hit number 1 before when we've done free books, but that's always nice, and hopefully some people will read the book and will eventually buy more of the others in the Jarvis Man series. And then it's all part of another promo, which I'll talk about afterwards as well. I have some books being delivered here shortly, so I might step away for just a second, but once I get my guest on here, I'll talk, and once they're delivered, but it's and he's delivering them right now. So of course they had to come right in the middle, and there's nobody else home to get them today. So I'll make sure nobody grabs them, but it's all 2 big boxes of my books. But anyway, my guest tonight is Mary Yungeberg, right?
Got it.
I'm stumbling. I'm looking at my camera and trying to talk at the same time. But hi, Mary. Good to see you. Thanks for being on the show tonight.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I've been very excited about this.
Yeah, it's always good. And I think we may have met at Wild Deadwood Reads a few years back. That's an event you've done, and how we became friends, at least on Facebook.
Well, you live in one of my favorite states to visit, too. Love Colorado.
Yeah, and we like going to South Dakota too, especially the Black Hills area, which is very Colorado-ish.
It is, yeah.
A lot of pole pines, and not quite as high elevation as
right
mountains, but
yeah,
beautiful area, and that's where Deadwood is, which we always enjoy every year going to that event as well. So I've got my camera here making noise at me, so I'm going to turn that off because I don't know the microphone's picking that up. So, but Mary, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, hobbies, whatever else you want to talk about.
Oh gosh, well, I grew up actually in eastern Iowa, in the Cedar Rapids area, just kind of a wild child, riding my ponies and then my horses everywhere on God's creation, and that kind of translated into an animal science degree at Iowa State University in Ames. And unfortunately, I didn't have a horse program then. So I ended up using my animal science degree to sell swine breeding stock to farmers, which was really, really unique. But it was a good career. I was the first woman they ever promoted in the company, which was interesting. And for a while, I was the only woman in the company. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I've always worked in a man's world, I guess, and that's just, I've always been comfortable with that. We have 2 sons, and I've been married to the same guy for, gosh, like 40 years, I think, and got 4 little grandkids, and they're fun, and I guess my favorite thing now, I went from the horse that eats hay to the one that burns gasoline, and we've got a Mustang convertible I call Little Blackie, and I've dabbled in autocross. It's just my favorite thing. I just get in the car, and a lot of times I'll find that when I'm stuck in my writing, if I just hop in that car and take off, I'll I'll be driving along and got my, music playing, and all of a sudden the scene that I'm looking for, or a scene that I need, will just lay itself out in my mind almost in like a panorama. And so that's very helpful. And I have fun. Like I said, dabbled in autocross, but I'm kind of dyslexic, so I always go around the cones the wrong way and disqualify myself. It's like I just can't help it. It just looks backwards to me. So, but I don't do it. I just do it to see how good I can do it. I don't care. I'm not trying to. It's not like a career for me like some of the guys, but it's been fun. And I have angelfish and Cory catfish, and I've got some goldfish. Just fun things, that take your mind off of when you just can't concentrate anymore. So I'll just sit and stare at my fish for a while. They're fun to watch. The angelfish are mean.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about the car, getting in the car to clear your brain and eyes. I'm a motorcycle person. I have a Spider right now, and that always worked. I used to ride a lot. Was in a bad accident, unfortunately, and then so I ride on 3 wheels now because I can't really handle 2 wheels anymore. But that always cleared my head. And when our daughter was young, we used to take her in the car when she wouldn't sleep, when she was a baby, and that would always put her to sleep and relaxing. So it's amazing how cars are relaxing. So you said your car is Blackie, right? Is that what you call it?
I call it Little Blackie. It's
a convertible too. So
that car.
Top down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially in the summer. Well, only in the summer. That car has 309,000 miles on the original motor, and doesn't use any oil. Runs like a new one. We've always maintained it though. We just spent several $1,000s on suspension, and we just keep it new under the to keep the body new. I mean underneath. It's a 07.
And what year did they do the more modern? What year did they?
2005.
So that's fairly early in.
2005 is when that body style started. Before that, in the 90s and early 2000s, they had a different body style. But this is my favorite body style. So, and I just enjoy it. And for me, a car becomes almost a part of me. I don't, and people say, well, when are you going to get a new one? And I'm like, well, I don't fancy car payments. And that car's more than paid for itself. And I just kind of like what I have. So I just have a good time with it.
Well, yeah, a lot of people, I got to get new tires and new brakes. I'll just get a new car. And I was like, well, new tires and new brakes are not accepted as a new car.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I've done a few little upgrades to it, I guess. I put a Borla dual exhaust on it, and I put 18-inch custom wheels. I mean, just, a K&N cold air intake. I mean, just a few things, but, I just have fun with it. It doesn't have enough horsepower to get squirrely, but I can really kick it down and go. And that's, just fun for me. I did get a speeding ticket on a few weeks ago, but I usually set the cruise and I didn't. So. Oh, well.
So is it an automatic or did you get a stick?
No, it's an automatic. I preferred an automatic just because I don't like to be shifting all the time.
Yeah.
So that's just me. But
my private eye in my book series, and
the Boss.
The 302 Boss of 69, and that was I always tell everybody mine doesn't his doesn't look as good as all these ones here look like. They're all nice. But I also, on my table there, you can see there I have a little model car I put on my table.
Yes, that's
at all my events to draw people over.
That's cool. I love it.
So if you get a model of yours, that may be a way to get people.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah, that's a good idea.
To come to your table and talk cars, and then maybe that you could sell them a book. So that's
the previous poster I had had the Mustang on it, and that did draw a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm just looking at my video camera here, so I'm going to run away real quick.
Okay.
But I'll be right back. But I will have you talk about about your writing and how long you've been writing and what motivated you to be an author and stuff. And you can kind of talk, and I'll just take 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
I'll just take over.
Yeah, it's all yours.
Okay, everybody. Just for me, let's see. I started writing when I was in second grade. As soon as we knew we could write, I can still remember standing at the chalkboard, seeing that big black empty space and that little piece of chalk in my hand and knowing that I could tell stories. I've always loved to tell stories. I remember riding the bus in grade school and telling the little girl named Molly on the bus that we had a big ocean in our basement and fish. And she believed me. So I must have been pretty good even then, you know. But I took creative writing in high school. I almost had an English minor in college, but I hated report writing, so I didn't do that. But when I guess I could say when I was working for the airlines, I started working for United in 2000 here in the at the Sioux Falls Airport. And then United pulled out, so I worked for the United Express carrier. And we lived through 9/11, which was really made it extra personal. I mean, I think it was personal for all of us as Americans, but it was even more personal for us because those were our airplanes. That's how we felt about it. I visited Ground Zero 6 times. The first time in December of 2001, and then the next time was February of 2002, and had a back of the scenes tour and what I call an encounter with an angel. But I've written about that on, I have a Substack that I write on, and I've written about it in my blog on my website. But that whole experience spawned a lot of what ifs because they had to deal with, once in a while we would just have someone who was Middle Eastern who would be very upset because their last name or their birth date matched a terrorist on a watch list. And so we had to stop the check-in process and go back and call United Security and clear that person by the rest of their information. And I could really, I felt for them because I could understand why, they would be upset. So I left the airlines in 2008 and I went on an Alaska cruise. And that's the first time that I actually had time without someone going, mom, or honey, to think. I just wandered around with a bottle of wine in my arm and friend and I, and we just, you had time to just ponder life, I guess. And I got back and I told my husband I want to write thrillers. So he said, well, go for it. He said, quit your job and write thrillers. I said, okay. So, so that's how it started. I started researching my first thriller, and I went to Thriller Fest in New York City, which was really very eye-opening and very traumatic for an introvert like me because it's a speed dating kind of thing. And those things are it's just, wow. So I guess what I came away with from there I had several agents that were interested. I had a few that made fun of me, and I had one that got very, very angry with me because I was writing, I had decided to have a Middle Eastern hero. And he said that you just can't do that. You cannot, as a woman, write from the viewpoint of a man, especially a man of a different ethnic group. He was very angry, veins popping, face red. And so I came home and just really doubled down on my research and started developing source people. And I guess the vindication came for me. I was looking for image of my protagonist and found an Iranian American website or page of Iranian American actors. And one jumped out at me, and that was Nicholas Gilak. So that became the image for me in my mind of my hero, my protagonist. So when it came time for the cover of that first book, a friend of mine said, why don't you ask him if you'd be on the cover? And I said, he probably didn't even know where South Dakota is, so I'm not going to do that. She said, well, I will. I said, okay, go for it. So she did. And he responded that he was really flattered, but he'd like to read the manuscript. So we sent it to him, and I got an email back saying he absolutely loved it. And he's been on every book cover since. He's very invested in the character. He critiques every manuscript before it's published, and has really improved my writing. He's very intelligent. He film produces, he acts, and he is a professor at a couple of community colleges out there. So he's just a really cool guy, and he's been very kind. He's very kind, very good. Just a neat person. So that's been a fun little partnership. And gosh, where was I? You're back. Okay.
I'm here. Yes, I didn't take
I was rattling away. You let me go. And I was just
that's okay. Well, he's a real. I see a picture. He's on the wall behind you there.
Yep, he is. Yep.
He's a good looking guy. And where did you say he lived? Does he live here in the U.S.?
He lives in Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. His parents immigrated from Iran. He was born in Houston, grew up in California, and I've flown out there a couple times to meet with him. Just different things we were working on, and yeah. So that's where he's located.
So he would give you a very good perspective then on what it's like.
Oh yeah,
being a Middle Eastern man in the country, because he's going to get those
because he is
and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was very helpful. I kind of, in my mind, it vindicated me that maybe I actually could write from that viewpoint, especially having someone who lives it, that, is a resource person. And just research that I do too. I read a really interesting book called Whitewashed, and it was about the experience of being Iranian or Middle Eastern, in the United States. It's written by gosh, now I can't remember his name. I see the book over there. An attorney and out in California, I think too. And it's very interesting. Give me a lot of perspective. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I find it funny. You said it was a man who said, "Oh, you can't do that," right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. He was very emphatic.
Like, okay, so can he write a female character then too?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I kind of laugh about that. I mean, yeah, if we only wrote from our perspective, we would have a very narrow writing. And so, I have a character in my Divine Devil series. He's a black man, and people say, well, how do you feel about, black man, and you're a white man and you don't experience those things, but I can empathize with what it's like, even though I'm not a black man. I can, I read and I see what's going on, and I've had friends who are black, so I know what those things are. So you can certainly write from that perspective, I think, doing it. Absolutely. Same thing with female characters in my books. It's I'm writing from their perspective, especially when you're doing third person. So you're seeing their point of view and all that. So there's all types of characters. If you only had male characters in your book, it'd be pretty boring. Right. Male white characters even, right?
No kidding. Yeah. No, I find for me, I grew up with 3 older brothers, and every career that I've had has been dominated by men. And I actually find it more fun and easier for me to write from a man's point of view than a woman's point of view. I'm not sure why, but it just is. When I started Consummate Betrayal, I actually had the woman that becomes Rowan's love interest, Danielle, as kind of the central character. And he was a young, hot-headed Iranian American FBI agent. And I wrote about the first 6 chapters, and his character had grown and changed so much, and hers had diminished so much that I had ditched the first 6 chapters and start over with him as the main character, and it's just gone from there. I get sometimes I think Danielle. I talked with Nico or Nicholas Gilak. I talked to Nico about deleting her, getting rid of her. He said, "Well, if you do, just kill her. Don't send her off with some other man. That wouldn't be good for Rowan." I said, "Okay," but I decided not to. He loves her. They click somehow. So
yes, good old authors, right? We kill just kill them off, right? Yeah. You don't need to torture him, right?
Right. Just get rid of them. Oh, anyway. So yeah, you can do all kinds of things. And we do.
So who are some authors that have inspired you through the years? We actually talked about this a little bit today when we were doing some testing. So who are those authors that you read that kind of made you think, wow, I might want to be a thriller writer, or I might want to be an author? Because we all know, for 99% of us, it doesn't pay the bills. So you got to do
Right.
it because you love it.
Right. Oh,
And there's
yeah.
an inspiration there, right? So
Definitely a labor of love, that's for
yeah.
sure. You, when I answered, thinking when you had mailed me those questions and I started thinking about it, that really sent me back in time. I'm telling you, it really dates me. But gosh, well, Dick Francis is my all-time favorite. I just love his horse. The murder mystery is based on the English horse racing scene, but gee, Sidney Sheldon, a guy named John Ball who wrote a book called The First Team, which is just incredible. And I was seeing it, looking on Amazon. I see it's come out again in 2015. I don't know if they updated it or whatever, but Phyllis Whitney is another one. Mary Stewart, Mary Higgins Clark, but Catherine Coulter. I mean, Brad Thor, Lee Child. I could go on and on. David Baldacci. My favorite book of his is The Camel Club. There's so many, neat authors that I guess inspired me. And I've always been a writer. Started writing as a little kid, but it just took a long time before I could really, go for it. Figure out that that's really what I want to do. I feel like that's my niche now. I trained my own horses and rode them and raised them for years. Did that for years. I wrote professional resumes. We raised our 2 kids, worked for the airlines, and now this is what I want to do. Plus drive my car. So,
Right. And that was with me. I wrote, and I always tell everybody, I wrote as a teenager to deal with teenage angst. Now I write as a middle-aged man to deal with middle-aged angst. Right. But in between, I got married and had a child, and those things were the priority in my life. Right. My daughter's gotten older and all that. And I had written some books before I even got married, like in the 80s, like 3 different books, way before the days of independent publishing and trying to get them published, and it just was no good. And they probably weren't that great, and put them on the side and for a long time. And those things, they would be less of a priority. And then I kind of revisited it, and then it kind of went from there. And it's kind of my therapy, as I tell people too. Writing for me is very cathartic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I've written a lot of freelance articles, mostly for horse magazines. I wrote for a local newspaper for several years, just human interest kind of articles and that kind of thing. But I never had the opportunity to do a lot of writing in college, just took a lot of English courses, creative writing and stuff. But yeah, it just takes, and you think, I guess maybe what it is that everything kind of distills down into life experiences you've had help then too. I wonder sometimes what kind of, if I had started writing books when I was 25 or 30, how would they have been different? And I don't know, for me, I think hopefully the maturity that I think I have now helps my writing. I don't know if that makes sense, but
sure. I mean, experience more. The more you experience life, the
more,
got more to write about too. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
we're seasoned, as they say.
Yes, right? There you go. Oh, that's a great word.
It's not gray hair. It's seasoning I have here on my temple.
Keep that covered up. Well covered up.
So tell us about your books. You got a little bit about your main character, and I know I've got I think you've got 5 of them right now?
Yeah,
right?
5. Number 6 is a work in progress. I started out wanting to do a trilogy about betrayal, betrayal, retribution, and redemption. And that just kind of grew. And a lot of what ifs, living through the 9/11 situation created a lot of what if scenarios in my mind. And I knew I wanted to have a Middle Eastern hero or protagonist. And I had known some Iranian kids at Iowa State and just loved them, fell in love with the Iranian people. And so I thought, okay, I have an Iranian, that's Iranian American will be that. And then so that because of all these what ifs, I decided that my goal all along, and I don't know how well I've done, but my goal all along has been to educate in an entertaining way about the existential threat that our country faces from Islamic terrorism. And that's not to slight Muslim people or Muslim authors that I love. And I just, that's not my thing, just to make that clear. But that is an existential threat that we face. And the Muslim Brotherhood has been active in this country for a long time. They're very highly networked in our government. And I don't have Democrats or Republicans in my books because I feel like they are both really naive when it comes to that threat. And I don't know why, because there's lots and lots and lots of information out there that tells you what the goals are. So I decided to have an Iranian American FBI agent who loses his fiance in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And he's angry, he's wounded, and he wants revenge. And he hears rumor that the president's looking for someone just like him who can fit in, who's talented with guns and knives, and is willing to go totally covert. No responsibility. If he's found out, they don't know anything about it. So that is kind of what I went with. However, he is convinced that there is a presence of the Muslim Brotherhood in the country that's working very hard to undermine. And so he is trying to find this person. Well, a confidant of his betrays him after being tortured, and so they figure out who he is. So they convince our government, because they like him, the Muslim Brotherhood operative, that he's a double agent. So that's where the betrayal comes in. He's betrayed by his own government. And that's kind of how it starts, and it just rolls on from there. In the second book, he decides to find his own retribution, but the bad guys do too. So that's why I named it Unholy Retribution. Mm-hmm. Finds himself at the end of that book at his lowest point and wants to be a different man if only he could be. And so that book came about that way. And then there's some redemption in the fourth book, and then he's on a different track. I don't know if you find this in your writing, but for me, I find that in each book, and it took me a while to figure this out, there'll come a pivotal point. And I figured this out when I was writing Terminal Redemption. As the scenes built up and things happened, I could see that Rowan was going to make a decision that was not going to be smart, but it was true to his character. And I thought, oh, no, I don't want you to do this. And I thought, well, I can just, I can change it. And then the more I thought about it, I thought that's not, but then I'm not being authentic to that character. So I let him go ahead and he made his stupid decision, and the whole rest of the story turned on that one scene. That became the pivotal scene for the book. And I found that I got to thinking back about the other books, and I thought, I never recognized this before, but it's true in every book. And I'm sure too, that your characters take over. Mm-hmm. I'll be writing and I'll type something and I'll think, how did you think of that? That did not come from me. That came from you. It's very interesting how that happens, but they take over, and that to me is the only way I can write. So I'm not very good. I can't do a total plot. I know how the book is going to start, and I know how I want it to end, but a lot of things can happen in the middle, and I'll make a list of scenes that I want to happen, but as I write, then the characters kind of take over. And they do their own thing. And I think that comes from, if you know your characters well, that can happen. Then it's not forced. It's just, then it flows really freely. And you just kind of are along for the ride.
So did you feel that was true in book one, or did you feel you were still kind of feeling yourself out and it's gotten those characters now, you have developed them, and the later books has gotten easier to write them?
Yeah, like I said, I ended up ditching the first 6 chapters of that first book because the character of Rowan grew and changed so much, and the direction kind of changed because of that. Let's see, I read a book before I got started, or as I was researching, called How to Write a Damn Good Mystery. It was by David, I think it's called Frey. I don't know if he pronounces it Frey or Fry, Frey. I read it, and then I read it again, and I took notes on the whole book. And then I developed my characters based on how he said to do it. So each one has a family and a history, and I know their education, and I know if they have brothers or sisters and the month they were born. I'm not real big into horoscopes, but if I'll pick a month and then look at the characteristics and decide if that's, and keep a list so I don't forget who's got blue eyes and who's got green eyes and who's got brown eyes and, all that. But so that's how I developed the characters. But I think it's gotten easier. I think in the first book, you are kind of, you know where you want to go. But yes, the more you get to know the characters, the easier it is. So I would say in the first book, I was probably still feeling my way along a little bit and learning to let go and let them do it.
Yeah, because like my Driver's Man series, I've written 10 books, and I feel like I know the character really well. I'm just starting a new series now, and it took me a little longer to write that series. Though I had an idea what I wanted to do, it was still that character is trying to develop him and the people around him, and it's a different world than my other world, which I've already have a lot of established characters to go with. I'm starting over again with a new set. So yes, that first book, if you're planning on a series, is always a little more of a feeling and stuff. But I love what you say about the characters taking over and talking to you. I've mentioned that several times, and I'm very much a pantster all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I have a very simple idea. I might even have the title, basic premise, and I'll just go with it. And sometimes the characters are tapping on my shoulder going, I want a bigger part.
Yeah.
Don't kill me off.
I want to do this. I want to go here. Yep. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Exactly. Before I start a new book, I interview each character, each main character. I say, hey, Rowan, what's going on? Talk to me. And then I just start typing. I do that with all the main characters. And Rowan has 2 sidekicks, Michael and Gabriel. And they have been very interesting to talk with. And his buddy, his best friend Chad, and his former boss Ralph, and they're just they're all kind of like a family, and they're kind of like a family for me. I tell my husband sometimes, I just rather just talk to the people in my head. I'm an introvert, I got a sign in my office today, so I'd rather talk to the people in my head. Okay, just.
Well, it's whatever it takes to
right. Whatever. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Whatever it takes.
I kind of understand what you're saying. I know there are times when I'm writing a book, like I was writing a serial killer book, and I would sit there and I have the plot, and part of the book was from the serial killer's point of view, and I would be having that chapter in my head that I'm going to write, and I'm trying to sleep, and I can't sleep.
Oh yeah,
I got to get up and write it and get it out of my head.
Yeah. When I've been working on the one Muslim Brotherhood character that I have, he's Egyptian, and man, to put myself in that mindset, I had to read a lot of stuff about what the jihadists believe and what they want to do and how they talk and how they feel about a lot of things, and that was really tough. That was probably the hardest character to do from that point of view. That's difficult to do. It takes a lot of research, and you just have to immerse yourself, and that isn't always easy. Although I found that either red wine or like Buffalo Trace. But I have Ron loving Jack Daniels, so single barrel Jack Daniels. So I thought, well, you got to try this because, otherwise, how are you going to describe, So I really enjoy a single barrel Jack Daniels too. So my husband always goes, well, just go pour a drink and start writing. It's okay, just go. I'm like, oh, that's all the permission I need, honey. That's great. See you later.
So do you write every day? Are you one of these disciplined writers that sits down and say, I got to write 1,000 words every day at least? Or are you one of those that kind of just, when that inspiration hits, you just sit down and it just kind of flows out of you?
Yeah, I've taken some time. A year ago in the summer, I lost my little Muse, and she was a little 14-pound, very naughty little rat terrier named Lucy. And we got her as a 8-week-old puppy when I was working on Consummate Betrayal. And I was having to jump up every 5 minutes because she was chewing on the woodwork and she was doing this and doing that. And then she would, as she got older, she'd sit on my lap and watch me type, or she'd sit in the chair in my office and just watch. And so when we lost her, I was lost. And that really threw me for a loop. I really did. I know people say, well, it's just a dog, and I'd pretty much like to just sock them in the face. She was just I don't know. So that kind of set me back. And I struggled to write, and I wrote about 20,000 words of that 6th book. And I just didn't like any of it. And I finally just started over. A reader made a comment one day that just, wow, it was like a light bulb. And I never completely throw stuff away because you never know when you might pick and choose these parts and pieces. But so I started it over, and that's a really long drawn out way to say, no, I haven't been writing every day. And in February, I had foot and ankle surgery, and that involved it's been a really long recovery. 6 weeks of no weight bearing, 4 months in a boot, 2 months of physical therapy. And I'm finally back to where I can take the dogs for long walks and, do things. So anyway, there's just been a lot of other things going on. Normally, if I'm working on a book, I'll just start, try and get the little details of life done. And then I just start in. And, every 20, 30 minutes, I'll get up and walk around or whatever, and then come back and just write some more and do the same thing and do it over and over. I can write up. Some days I've written up to 3,000, 4,000 words, 5,000, and I'm feeling like in South Dakota, you get to, maybe other people do too, but here in the fall, you get to the point where I said to my husband the other day, I can't wait for a blizzard. I can't wait for the crappy weather to start so I don't have to go anywhere. Oh man, because here it's just, you might have 40-mile-an-hour winds for a week, and blowing snow, and it's ice, and you don't know what's under your feet when you step outside. And I don't take the Mustang out. I do put 4 studded snow tires on it, but that's so I can run to the little town 5 miles from here, maybe if I want to on a day. But otherwise, I don't take the car out, and I'm afraid somebody will hit me. And then I'm just not sure how nice I'd be to them if they did. But so, but anyway,
you'd be like Stephen King when he got snowed in at the Stanley, right? You'll write the Shining.
Yes, right. Yeah, it's just just watch it snow and start writing. So I have to say, I'm looking forward to hunkering down. I'm ready to get back. We have a new puppy now. Well, he's a year old, and we have a rescue that we had to have, Bella and Lyle. If anybody wants to know about them, on my Substack, I write about Bella and Lyle and the crazy things that happen. Just getting started. It's going to be a little series. And so now they're old enough to where he's old enough to where he'll sit in the chair now and watch me write. So I feel like I'm going to be able to get back to it. I'm really kind of anxious too. So I know where I want it to go. I've got a lot of scenes rolling around in my head.
And do you have a title for the new book?
I do.
I don't know whether you want to reveal it or not, but.
Oh, sure. Well, I actually changed it. I changed the title to A Most Wanted Man. So that's going to be the title.
You've got the 5 books. So you've got Betrayal and Retribution and A Different Man and Terminal Redemption, and The Man Behind the Shadows is the most recent one that's out.
Yes, it is. And that one really put Rowan on a different trajectory. That was a big change for him. So, which I'm kind of excited about. So it takes the stories in a whole different, kind of a different direction. Well, not totally, but yeah.
So do you foresee after book 6, there's going to be more? Do you have an end in sight, or do you feel like it's just it's kind of open-ended. I think I'll know when he's done.
When I'm done with that character. And Nico asked me, "What, you're going to kill him off?" I said, "Oh God, no! I just could never do that. No, 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 no. I love him." So no, I would send him off to a desert island or something somewhere in anonymity where he can just hang out at a little local bar. Nobody knows who he is. I would do something like that before I would kill him off. I would never do that. But I don't know. I'm open-minded at the moment. That's still my passion. I still want to keep writing about that. Mm-hmm. Just finding new ways to share that. There's lots of real stuff in the books, but it's fictionalized. I have in the very beginning of Consummate Betrayal, there's some information about, Rowan intercedes or intervenes with a couple of guys that are trying to bring chemicals across the border, and they want to set them loose on the lawn of the White House, and that was actually something that the terrorists wanted to do and wrote about. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I put that in there, but just those kind of things you can intersperse. One of the things I've learned too is you have to be careful that you don't. One of the best things I learned early on was doing they call it a editorial intensive weekend at Writer's Digest. And the first 50 pages of your manuscript could be reviewed by someone at Writer's Digest, and then you would come for the weekend and do workshops and get a critique. And mine was reviewed by the editor at the time. And one of the most valuable things he told me was about not letting my author voice intrude into the book, in the manuscript. And he pointed out, and that was a really cool thing to learn early on. I was glad that I learned that early on, so you can be aware of that. I took 2 sessions of training with Wing Hill Writing School, which is a Canadian online writing school. And I was going to check before we talked to see if they're still going. I don't have any idea, but they hooked me up. They'll hook you up. They hooked you up with a successful author that would then critique your stuff that you sent. And I was placed with Joan Hall Hovey, who is a really cool Canadian author, award-winning and lots of neat kind of mystery, almost in the horror genre of books. And she taught me so much. Taught me a lot about setting scenes and point of view and just all the stuff, that you need to do. So I've had some good teachers along the way.
Yeah, I mean, we all need help sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little stubborn sometimes when it comes to at that as well, but that's one of the advantages of being self-published, independent.
Oh, absolutely.
You can you don't have people telling you what you need to do, right. And then you don't have deadlines, and you might have your fans be upset with you because you haven't putting out the books fast enough, because I get those from time to time. I had one who got upset with me, and she came to one of the events I did last week again, and she goes, "I'm still mad at you for ending the Divine Devil series, because I did 4 books in that, and I didn't like those 4. She goes, "I didn't want you to end it. Why did you end it? I'm still mad at you about that." So
that's great. Yeah, I don't know if you do it, but I've never found. I just don't feel like I fit into a lot of times. Authors will say it's really important to be part of a writing group, a critique group. I've never found that to be helpful for me. It isn't that I think my writing's perfect. It's not that. It's just I feel like everyone's book is their book. And I rely on my editor, great editor, Brian Schell. And Nico is a great beta reader. And I lost a wonderful friend and beta reader to cancer this summer. But I would rather rely on those people because they know me and they know the books and they know the characters, instead of, well, you should do this and this and this. Well, no, you don't understand. And then we have to explain. And I don't know. So that's just me. And it's probably part of being an introvert, because a lot of times I'm just happy to be by myself.
I've never done critique groups either. I've had a few different beta readers through the years, but mostly, I mean, I think for an author, you got to write what you want to write. And yeah,
That's
people can sit there and look at it and maybe criticize maybe some of the, plot choices, or maybe find
right.
some holes in your plots and stuff
Right.
like that. But the
Yeah.
actual style of writing, everybody
Right.
is unique.
Exactly. And you can't, yeah. And you just can't I read a book once. I don't even read writing books that are supposed to help people write. I was working on Unholy Retribution, and I thought, oh, I'm going to, increase my knowledge and learn from this. And I bought a book on point of view, and I started reading it, and I said, I almost wrecked the book. I finally just gave it away. It was like, no, this isn't right for me. I think a lot of those are what works for that particular author. And that's great. And maybe, and I'm not saying, it probably helps somebody else, but I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like, kind of stubborn. I want to do things. I know how I want to do things, and I'm going to do them that way. And that's just the way it is. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So do you have any other, so you've got this series. Have you thought about doing any other book series? Do you have anything kind of rolling around the back of your head?
Well, I grew up with horses and spent a lot of time showing and doing some training, and we raised a few horses. I've often thought, maybe I could write a story involving, the equine industry or involving horses.
Dick Francis, right?
Yeah, right.
One of your inspirations, you said, that you always enjoyed reading.
I told our kids stories when they were kids, and they're grown now, and they keep bugging me. Billy and Magic. It was I told them endless stories about Billy and his magic pony. Oh, Mom, you got to write that. You got to write that. Our kids would love that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe, I don't know. Right at the moment, nothing else moves me. It just doesn't. Maybe, like I said, I think I will know when it's time to move on. And right now, it's just not that time yet. Yeah. But I'm okay. I just kind of keep plugging away, doing my own thing, and reaching as many people as I can. And
so you're self-published, right? Independent, or you have a publisher?
No, I self-published. I have a wonderful, wonderful editor, Brian Schell. He does a wonderful job. Very gifted at seeing the big picture and the little details. Great sense of humor. Wonderful gal, Teresa Elliott Russ in Orlando with Poised Pen Productions. Does a great job on covers and helping with that wonderful back cover blurb that everybody loves to write.
Yeah, I know.
That's harder than the whole book.
Well, yeah, because you gotta bring it down, but you don't want to give away too much. But you got
but you got to condense it, and you go, oh no, it's horrible.
I've got one here. Where is it? For the new series I had written. Where did I do with that? It's buried here. I got too much junk on my desk. I've got it right here, and I've probably gone through, and every time I read it, I change something.
No,
it just isn't. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm way more diligent about this than I am when I'm doing my whole book. I mean,
I know.
I'll tweak things in my book, but I never tweak things 15 times on the same line like I do in my book. I don't know why.
I know. And then I know it's just horrible. I think I swear it's harder than writing the whole book, because how do you? I don't know. But yeah, it's tough. But my editor helps with that. And he also does all the formatting for me and all that, because that's just not my thing. I have no interest in learning how to do that. I really don't. I'd rather pay him to do it.
So you Kindle Direct Publishing? Is that where you go, or do you go through Ingram or one of those?
No, I just go through Kindle. It was Create Space, and now Kindle.
Right.
And it's just I've been I guess happy with that.
I hear, some people say Ingram, their paperbacks are a little better. And I've had other people tell me, no, Kindle's better. The biggest issue I have with Kindle Direct Publishing is when they ship me books, they don't pack them correctly. I get more damaged books.
Oh, that's too bad.
That I have to try, and at least it's easy to return them, but I still got to take them and return them.
But it's still,
Yeah, but it's, I just had one the other day. There was a book, the box was too big. The books are all bouncing around in the box. No packing material. And then they sometimes overload the books and they're too heavy, and then the box break. I had one that completely broke, and UPS, I think, reboxed it because it completely broken. They put the original box inside of it. And I called Kindle and I told them, I says, I'm not sending these back to you guys. I'm sorry. You guys did a horrible job. You're going to credit me for every one of these books. And because none of them were usable. They were all bent. The covers were bent. Everything.
No.
Yeah. And I've had sometimes, I think I still have one here. I think it is. No, that was my proof. Where I might not have it up here anymore. But I've had some where they bind them wrong. And some of the pages are upside down. They don't cut them right and they're crooked.
I've never had that. Wow.
Never had that. Yeah, I have to flip through every page.
I did this summer. Opened up a copy of one of them that I had just gotten, and page 22 was right there in the front.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I've had some where I'm missing the first page. The cover, the cover, but the title page is not there at all anywhere.
Wow.
So every now and then, I mean, it's been better lately, but boy, a couple of years, every box I got
had a mess.
And I was getting really frustrated with them. Of course, dealing with customer service with them is always.
Oh, that's a whole nother adventure. That is a whole other adventure. I know. I know. Wow. That part, I'm really glad that I haven't had very many problems because when I have had a few times had to talk to them, it's just like, wow, I don't know what planet you're on, but we're just not communicating. And I spent so many years in customer service that I'll never be rude or mean to someone, on the phone because they're, just trying to do their job. And if they're a moron or whatever, they're still trying to do their job, and I'm just hang up and be like, oh, yeah.
So I gave you a list of questions beforehand. I think you've kind of answered some of the ones, like, are your stories based on real events? Well, you mentioned that you're kind of going into 9/11 and all that in your series. Is there any other things that you kind of tie in? Are any of the characters real people that you've known that you've worked into the story? Other than your cover artist, your model there, the gentleman.
Right, he's a real person.
He's a real person, but I'm sure he's not an spy or works for the FBI, right?
Yeah, well, he does and did. I would say there are a couple characters that I realized as time went on that I had loosely based on people from the past. Ralph, Rowan's former special agent in charge, is loosely based on a guy that I worked for who was a regional manager for Farmers Hybrid Company or Boar Power. Chad, Rowan's best friend, I realized as time went on, is kind of loosely based on our oldest son. He's a kind of a techie, nerdy, Christopher's not really nerdy, but kind of, I guess. Other than that, I've worked really hard to develop them individually and give them characteristics. I knew Rowan was going to be angry. He's very smart. He tends to be arrogant because he's so smart that he knows he can do what he wants and he gets away with it. And that's what gets him in trouble. And just different things. I feel like you have to make them three-dimensional. So they've got to have, the physical characteristics. They've got to have their personality traits, things that are important to them. And I give Rowan, anyway, I don't delve into it too much with the other characters, but he's got a spiritual side because people do, whether you're agnostic or Christian, Muslim, Hindu, whatever, even if you're atheist, you still believe in something, And so I incorporate that with him just because I want to have a character that is complex and has some depth and that people can relate to. And some of the experiences that he goes through, I draw on some of the things that have happened to me. Not the same things, but elements of, let's say. So that is a way for me to make him more real. I don't know if that makes sense. I just spend a lot of time in developing and talking to those characters. One of the things that was kind of funny, when I was working on Unholy Retribution, I was typing away, and they're on an airplane. They're flying on a jet, and Michael and Gabriel are talking, and Gabriel says to Michael that Rowan he's been mean to. He doesn't deserve Danielle, and Michael says, "Well, that's the plight of every woman, isn't it?" And that was when I sat back and I went, "I wasn't thinking that." He came up with that all on his own. So anyway, and I named them Michael and Gabriel because I knew Rowan needed protectors. And that's another thing, is that all of their names mean something. So when I chose Ralph, I looked at the meaning of Ralph. I can't remember right now. Chad. I chose Michael and Gabriel because of the archangels, Michael and Gabriel. I figured that's who Rowan needs protection, so he's got his two archangels, Michael and Gabriel. Danielle, the meaning of her name. Now, the meaning of Rowan was kind of a blunder on my part. When I was working on that book, I chose the last name Milani. I just researched a bunch of Iranian surnames, and I kind of liked that name. And then I found an author, Abbas Milani, who's quite a scholar and author, and has written some really interesting books. And he lives in California now too, immigrated. Anyway. But Rowan, I would have sworn at one point that was an Iranian name that I had found. I think back now and I think, duh, how dumb were you? Because it's a Celtic name and it means red or rusty. In Arabic, I guess it means a river of paradise. But also I discovered, and this was kind of cool, the Rowan tree is all about protection. And I thought, well, that's cool then. It works because Rowan is all about protecting the people he loves. So I thought, okay, it works. It was too late to change it. So I put in the book that his mom gave him a Celtic name and he didn't know why. And
my private eye, Jarvis, I make it's a distant relative's name, somewhere in the past and stuff. So
yeah, that's awesome. I like that.
So we had a comment here from Dennis Diane Hammerheimer.
Yeah, Harmony, yes.
Yeah. She got a little puppy too there.
Yeah, that's awesome. We just got a visit with them a few weekends ago. One of the things that you had asked about was, if you have any advice for, writers, beginning writers or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I've thought about that a lot. Well, every once in a while, I have somebody that, is just getting started or wants help or wants to talk about it. And I think the most important thing, and I wore the t-shirt to remind myself, is I got this at the top from the Crazy Horse Monument out in the hills. Never give up on your dreams. That's so important. Just don't give up. If you're new, just don't give up. I've had, there's been times, the worst critique I've had of my books is by people who've never read a single word. Who told me I was crazy, says you're, from this, what you said, your protagonist is an idiot. Nothing screams amateur hour, like blah, blah, blah. And a few of those times I've just kind of, you just kind of crawl in a little hole somewhere and think, I just really won't write anymore because, And then after about 3 days, I pull myself up and go, oh, come on. But it's important never to give up, because if you give up, then everything you've done is for nothing. And the other thing is to get as much education as you can. The Wing Hill Writing School, I took a creative writing course at Augustana College in Sioux Falls. Just those kind of things really, really helped my writing grow, because you have your own style, but it's important to hone it, and improve it. I feel like every book gets better. And that was actually after I wrote the fourth book or the fifth book, I was kind of frozen for a while because I thought, I don't know if my writing will get any better. I mean, not that I've reached the pinnacle. It was just, I didn't know if I had it in me to make it better. I don't know if that makes sense. Not that sure. I thought it was so great, but I just thought, oh no. Oh, what if it's worse? What if I can't, So I think those things are really important. And I think finding a good editor, and I think money spent on good editing is well worth it. Partly because I have found, talking to different people, like reviewers in Sioux Falls. Anyway, I met with a reviewer that told me that They like to get self-published books, her and a couple of friends, and they'd sit and laugh at all the mistakes. And it just gives all of us a bad name. When you work really hard to make sure you're putting out a quality product, then, it behooves all of us to do the best we can. So I think a good editor, good beta readers, proofreading, all of that's so important. Oh, so that's my...
Yeah, I can't argue that. It's all true, and it's all and it's gonna take a while to develop all that too. I mean,
It does.
your
Yes,
first
it
book
does. Yep.
it's gonna take you a while to find those right people.
It does.
I've been through several different editors through my years, and
yeah, I have too. I finally settled on Brian. He does a wonderful job, so it's great. But there were a few before him that.
Because everybody is different. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. And what works for me isn't going to work for you necessarily. Or I think that's why that one particular book that I read on Point of View, it just almost wrecked me. It was just not what I needed. But you don't know until you try it. But I think it's important to keep trying and also to be good to yourself, because there's plenty of people out there that want to, put you down, because some people get off on, making other, being negative to other people. I don't know why, but they just do. And those people have no problem telling you how much you stink, You just have to be good to yourself and learn, we all make mistakes. I mean, you make dumb mistakes. And so, pick yourself up and dust yourself off and, keep going forward and just learn from it and grow from it and keep getting better. Just keep working on getting better. I try to be a long time ago, a really cool person told me, I said, I was wondering, I was at Ames actually, and one of my roommates, I lived in a house, so there's 5 or 6 of us women that did a house, and we all put in money anyway, as opposed to living in the dorm. And one of our roommates got into this almost like a cult kind of thing. It was pretty wild in those days on campus at Ames. There's a lot of different groups and everything. And an older lady she was an organic chemist, she's a really cool lady. And I said, how do you keep yourself from, how does this happen? And she said, you just need to remain teachable. So when, and not be gullible, but be teachable. So when someone comes and tells you this is bad, this is yada, 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 well, then check it out and do your research and be able to be taught, be teachable. That's, I think, an important quality for no matter what you're doing. You got to be teachable. If you're not teachable, if you're hard, then you're not going to, you'll reach a certain point and you won't progress beyond that because you can't be taught. So that I took to heart many, many years ago. And that served me in all areas. So that's my sage wisdom. If we were sharing some single barrel Jack, I could probably come up with a whole bunch more stuff.
So I always ask everyone, Bringing Life to Characters is the name of my podcast. So what is it you look for? What is it you try to do? And you talked a little bit about your character, obviously your Muslim character, what you did to bring him to life, to get him to jump off the page. But what do you look for to make those characters seem real to people when they're reading your stories?
I try to give them real life histories. And Rowan has a mom and a dad and a sister, and his dad is a gentle, kind man, and his mother is and he's Iranian, and his mother is actually Italian, and she's caused lots of grief because she's bold and says stuff that hurts, and so that's created his persona. And I put him in the situation of being losing someone that he loved with all his heart. So he's angry and wounded. And I think too that it's just a matter of, I wrote down a whole bunch of information of how I wanted him to be, and then started conversing with him. And And that brought out more characteristics and more thoughts. And then those things just go in a separate file. And then I'll find myself writing a scene and realizing that some of those things are coming out because I've created that backstory and that history. Mm-hmm. I've made him into a person in my mind, a real person in my mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want people to feel that emotion and attachment to that character.
Right.
And they're when they're reading, they're like, oh my gosh, why are you doing this to this character? I like this character so much, and you're putting him through hell sometimes. You know, us writers, we like to do that, right? We like to
it's
just torture everybody.
Creates drama, you know. And then
that's right.
How are you gonna get him out of it? And what's that gonna? And what are those things gonna do to that person? With Rowan, I found that he persists for a long time in he's kind of naturally arrogant. And then until that just gets absolutely taken out of him, you know, and then he becomes a different man, which was what he wanted to, you know. I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of with that character and writing personality traits and the things that you want them to have. And he is close to his sister. He and his mother are pretty much estranged. His father's sad about that. He has good memories of his father. And I mean, it's just, you know, those are the things that I use to kind of develop that.
And those are characteristics I'm assuming you brought out gradually through the series too. It's not one of those things where you bang, you hit them right.
No, it just hit them all at once. Yeah. No, but
it's one of those things, and that's part of the evolution of the story and the characters. Learning more about them.
Yep. That's exactly that's how how it all comes together. And I've done that, you know, and you can bring out little details. I bring out little details about Ralph, little details about Chad, you know. Gabriel is Hispanic, you know, he's got a wife and a couple kids. And Michael, he grew up on a ranch in South Dakota. I mean, it's just, you know, they all have their backstories and their backgrounds that come into play then in different ways. You almost have a storyboard on your wall, right, with all your characters and the tree and everything, how they all connect, and it's like a family tree. Right, I thought about doing that. It can get confusing. I'll sometimes when I'm starting to work, when I've been working on this book, I'll think, what was that guy's name? Oh man, what was his name? You know, he might be not a major character. I gotta go back and look, but I keep the files on all of them, and I do I've had a lot of really good source people. I started Consummate Betrayal 10 years after 9/11 because I didn't know any people that could give me good information. Like if I wanted to start it before 9/11, I'm thinking about at some point doing a prequel that starts before 9/11 with Rowan and Michael and Gabriel and Ralph and Chad. Because now I have lots of wonderful resource people that have helped me so much. The dear friend they become good friends. I had he's a former Marine and Secret Service agent, a Marine Scout sniper who helped me so much. I've met some really cool guys that have ties to Mossad. They have a company that's called Security Solutions International, and they work with Mossad and just things like that, that it takes time to find those people. And it's much, you know, now I have great people that I can, you know, call. I have a friend who flies private jets. He's a private jet pilot. So I can call him and say, hey, how would this work? You know, could they do this? Could they do this? How do I find out if a plane can land, if a jet like that can land in this airport? You know, how do I, you know, this and that. So those are invaluable resource people for me. I wouldn't, but like I said, it takes a lot of time to develop that. And I've done a lot of research online because the books, when I met with Nico the first time, I flew out to LA and he had all the notes I had sent him all rolled up, and we met at the patio of my hotel. And he said, this is a story that needs to go global. He said, so we need to, you need to expand and go global. I'm like, okay. So that sets in motion a whole bunch of other things. So I've had to research. I mean, I found people who lived in the Burj Khalifa tower so I could write about that. I found out about a journalist who was swept up in Tahrir Square and spent time in Torah prison, so then I could write about that. I mean, it's just, you go down lots of rabbit holes, and the research takes a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I sit down and write a lot, but there always is a lot of research involved, especially when you're getting into stuff that you're not that familiar with, unfortunately. So.
Oh yeah, it just takes time.
Yeah. So I know you have a book series. You've got a freebie that you're going, and I wanted to tell people about. And I was going to throw that up in the comments here for anyone watching. Let's see if hopefully it plays the link, and I'll throw it up on the screen as well. But you've got this link here, and tell us about what you're giving away and for how long.
That is the ebook box set of the first 3 books in the series: Consummate Betrayal, Unholy Retribution, and A Different Man. So I just like to give people the opportunity, if you really want to dive into it, or want to know more about it, that's your chance to get a good start on it. It's free starting today through November 2nd.
Yeah, because Amazon only gives you 5 days to
yes,
do your freebies.
That's right.
I don't know why they limit it to 5 days, but
who knows?
It seems like you're the author, you should be able to do whatever you want, right? I mean, why does it only be 5 days? But
yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yes. So that's a good opportunity if you want to check it out. You can.
Yep, I got that up on the screen, and then this is your website.
Yep, you can order the books from there, from Amazon. They're all linked there. And I do, like I mentioned, I have started writing on Substack, which is that is the other writing, I guess, that I'm interested in. I just like to write about what I'm thinking about sometimes, totally away from anything. I wrote about what it's like to live in Valley Springs. It's just, I write about our silly dogs and the silly, dumb things that happen when we take them places. And just, just different things, just things I'm thinking about, things that happen. I wrote one about a quote unquote normal day when everything just went to hell. And I wrote about one day when I was feeling sorry for myself and went and talked to a friend whose daughter is dying of cancer. I don't know, it's like a little slap in the face of perspective, I mean, just different things that I'm thinking about that I want to write about. It just makes me happy. So you can check that out too.
And then, so you said they can order the book through your website. So when you could purchase directly through your website, or does the link to your website go to Amazon?
The ebook links will go to Amazon. If you order from the website, I'll send us like a signed copy.
Yeah, so
that's directly through me. Yeah.
Yeah, which is better, and your copy, and you actually, if it's like you actually make a little more money too. Than because you're paying Amazon twice.
Right. Yeah.
When you go through their store, because you're paying for the publishing side of it, and then you're paying for the store side of it. And I tell people that all the time when I do these craft fairs. I can tell you the book usually for about the same price as Amazon, sometimes cheaper.
Right. Yes.
I make more money. Sometimes I might get $1 if I'm lucky from the paperbacks that we sell through Amazon. I mean, I'm happy to sell it no matter what.
Oh yeah, me too. But I know what you mean. Yeah. I'd much rather sell them all through my website or out of my trunk.
Mr. Bezos does not need any more of our money. So.
No, not really. I think he's doing okay. I do. I really do.
And are you doing any events?
I have one called the Art Collective in Sioux Falls. December, what did I tell you? 5th and 6th. It's a Friday.
Yeah, I think you said 6th and 7th.
6th and 7th. That's right. That's it for the year. I'll check different things as they come up, but sometimes the weather really interferes. You just can't. You can pay for a booth and then you can't get there. So
And are you thinking about going to Deadwood this year?
Yes, I'm
You're going to
excited about
be
that. I've already,
you're hopping around again now. Don't have
yeah, I'm actually can walk. Yeah, yes, I am looking forward to it. We love the hills. Go out there a couple times a year, and the Number 10 Saloon in Deadwood is an old favorite back in the days when my husband had a Harley, and we just we'd go out there for the Sturgis Rally and
right.
hang out in the old Number 10. It's just so that's my happy place. I just sit down and I'm just happy. Just love to watch the people and look at the big buffalo head up on the wall. Yeah, it's just yes, and I love the Wild Deadwood Reads. It's a wonderfully run event. They do a great job, and I enjoy seeing. It's fun to go see everybody year after year. People that and
yeah, it's I mean, I've done it every year, and we started very small. We were in a basement of the whole Holiday Inn Express.
wow,
There in the middle of Deadwood, and then we were at the Deadwood Grand, which is up on the hill. There was an old mining.
Yep, I've done things there.
They turned into a hotel, and now we're at the really nice.
The lodge. The South Dakota Festival of Books. I've gone to at the Grand. That was a unique experience too. But yeah, just so those are the only. I'm hoping I'll have some things come up in the meantime. There's actually a church library in Sioux Falls that I think I'm going to get the opportunity to go speak about the books. And there's just other things that will come up as time goes on. I know they will. So just from connections.
Well, I will say Killer Nashville is a very good learning author event.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be interviewing Clay Stafford, who runs that event here in the future. And he's a great guy, and he does a great job. But that's a really good learning event for authors and stuff. There are some fans that go to it, but it's mostly authors learning event, and they have awards and best books of the year and the various categories and stuff. But he's a great guy to talk to, and he's been doing. I think this is going to be year 18. I think he's done.
Wow, that's cool.
So, and then this last year, BoucherCon was the week afterwards in Nashville, so it was 2 straight weeks of author events, and got to live in Nashville for 2 weeks, which was.
But that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we enjoyed ourselves, but it was just too warm. We had 3 days of over 100 degrees, and even the people who live there said this is way hotter than normal. I mean, on top of the humidity as well. And you live in Colorado. We don't get much humidity here, so we're used to that. So not used to it. It's we were in a motorhome, and the air conditioning was running full time.
I guess I bet. I've been to Nashville a few times. My parents lived in Nashville, but it was a really long time ago. Yeah. So that's cool. That's something I'll have to think about. I just haven't put that together yet, but that would be a good event.
Well, was there anything else you wanted to talk about? We're about an hour and 20 minutes there.
I think we've covered a lot of ground.
We did pretty good. So, well, I appreciate you joining me tonight and being on the show and getting a chance to chat.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to do that. Thank you very much. That's
I always learn something new every time I get to talk to authors, and hopefully maybe we'll get a chance to see each other. We'll actually know who each other are. If you happen to make it to Deadwood, we're already planning on going. Yeah. My wife may not be going this year. My daughter may go with us and go with me instead, because she's in the middle of a big project for her work. So.
Oh, cool.
So she may not be able to go. So my daughter and I may drive.
Trip. I've already paid for my booth, so I'm excited.
Yeah. We always make a vacation out of it, because we go to all the tourist traps out there. We go to Sturgis, though Sturgis not when there's a rally. It's a quiet little sleepy town. But I always like to pick up T-shirts, so that was last year's T-shirts are always discounted. So they always
I love the T-shirt shops there.
Yeah, they're everywhere and stuff.
If you get a chance to go to the top of Crazy Horse, that's really, really an incredible experience.
We took the bus one year, but it wasn't all the way to the top. I don't think they were going to the top at that time, but we've been to Crazy Horse a few times. I think we went 2 years ago.
There's a van that goes to the top.
This was a bus, so I think it just took us up
to the base. Yeah. There's a bus that will do that, but this is the van, and there's usually about 6 or 8 people, and what really, you watch the little movie about Crazy Horse,
Yeah.
and what really touched me was when in that movie, they said that he said to his people, "I will return to you in stone." And I just thought, wow, just gave me goosebumps. And we got up to the top, and for me, it was just a really moving experience.
Yeah.
And they have his hand, pointing out, and that
Right.
forefinger reaching right toward Pine Ridge reservation. And if you've ever been to the Wounded Knee Massacre site, that's very, very sad and moving too. That's a worthwhile trip. If you go to Wall, there's a museum, a Wounded Knee Museum, which is worth the time and money too. Anyway, that's just something that I just thought of. So
Yeah, no, we try to hit something a little different every year, so it's
yeah.
there's a lot to see there. And
Oh, I know it. Yeah, we do something different every time. Iron Mountain Road is one of my favorites with the Mustang, along with the Needles. Although the Needles really makes me slow down because I want to go off.
Oh yeah, that's really tight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've got the little carved tunnels, and it's one way.
Yeah.
It's only enough room for one car, so you kind of have to come up to it and honk your horn and
right.
Okay.
Wait, and then about the time you start, there comes the headlights.
Yeah.
No, it's yeah. Anyway, it's been great. I really do appreciate it. It's a wonderful exposure for me, which is much appreciated.
Yeah.
And you're such an accomplished author, so it's a treat to talk to you too. So
yeah, I enjoyed chatting with you as well, and we'll send you the link and the file for that, and you can share with everyone else, and hopefully we'll get some people to watch it after the fact as well. So
sounds good. Thanks very much. Take care.
Thanks, Mary. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Had a good time talking with Mary tonight. I have the free ebook, like I said earlier, Dead Man Code, which is on my Amazon site, which is going to be free till the 2nd, just like Mary's. It's the 29th through the 2nd. So please download it. Get me moving up the charts. Hopefully I can get close to #1. I've had a couple make it a few in the past, but it's always good exposure. But I think it's a fun book if you like getting into technology and a dumb private eye who doesn't know his technology. But please check that out. My guest next week, it'll be Tuesday also, I believe it is, and it's going to be at 6 p.m. also. I'm going to be talking with Reed Farrell Coleman, which is really going to be fun. He a very accomplished author, and I met him at BoucherCon, and he for a short time took over the Jesse Stone series from Robert B. Parker, which was great. So I'm looking forward to talking to Reed. He's a very, very fun guy, and he has some great stories I'm sure that you'll all enjoy. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to check out the YouTube channel if you're not subscribed. There's lots of other great interviews with a lot of other great authors. This was episode 16, I believe. So a lot of different authors you can check out, and hopefully you can find some books that you enjoy. Take care, everyone.